All right, Nick, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals coming off of the draft a few weeks ago. We get to dive in and hear stories and things start to get revealed about teams' draft plans and players they got, didn't get, or guys that slid to them that surprised them. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today when we talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. There's one guy in particular the Bengals had been eyeing, and he came to them at the absolute perfect time, making him potentially one of the bigger steals of this draft for them. Let's get into the article and we'll talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, is from over on Touchdown Wire. It says, looking back on some of the discourse around the Cincinnati Bengals in the 2024 NFL Draft, there's some interesting stuff out there about a certain late round draft pick. Matt Lee, the team's second pick in the 7th round at number 237 overall, is a guy who's already been established as a great value and sleeper pick in the class. But coming back through the draft items, there's an interesting bit from Geoff Hobson of Bengals.com that adds to this. He said the Bengals would have been taken him 2 rounds earlier, potentially. He says, so with their last pick of day at number 237th in the 7th round, they grabbed Miami center Matt Lee, a player they would have taken in the 5th. That is crazy. They're able to get a guy that they were potentially eyeing at the 5th. He slid to him all the way, basically the end of the 7th round. They got him later in the 7th round for them. I think this is a great pickup for the Bengals, Nick. I'm curious what your thoughts are. But Bengals fans, in the comment section below, the schedule has been released. If you didn't know that, go check it out. But there's a lot of great games the Bengals got to play this year. I think this is going to be a big season for them. I think this is one where the Bengals are looking to accomplish something they haven't got done, and that's go all the way and win a Super Bowl this time. So along that path, down those games, let us know what games are you the most exciting about seeing your Cincinnati Bengals play. Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this selection of Matt Lee?
So it speaks to the mindset of the Bengals, right? And I think the fact that they were so impressed by this rookie, earlier on, they thought he was going to be a 5th round guy, felt him in the 7th round, I think really says something there that the Bengals coaching staff really likes what Matt Lee could potentially bring to this team going forward. And again, I know we're right now, like you mentioned, your comments there about this season, the 2024 season. But like Joe Burrow said, as long as Burrow's in Cincinnati, their title window is open. And if you look at this pick here, it's exactly that, a long-term move, because Ted Karras is the starting center for 2024, but Karras is 31. He's in the last year of his deal. He's probably going to want some big money, most likely. The Bengals are going to have to make some really hard salary cap decisions. One way to make that decision a lot easier is to have the heir apparent already waiting in the wings. I think that's exactly what Matt Lee is. Because if you look at Karras's resume, it's very similar to Matt Lee's. Karras was a smallish offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman coming out of Illinois. Right now, he's 307. He had to put on and maintain weight when he got to the National Football League. He was a 6th-round pick, very late-round guy as well. Matt Lee, listed right now, according to NFL.com, at 6'4", 301 pounds, very similar dimension-wise. He's been tasked to put on weight. They're saying he needs to get a little bit bigger, very similar to Karras, and obviously fell late in the draft, 7th-round pick as well. Again, very similar to Karras on the exact same concerns that he's undersized. But all that being said, Lee's a great football player. He's a first-team all-conference player multiple times at University of Central Florida, transferred to Miami, where he was second-team all-conference, started in, based on the count here, I'm looking at 48 games over the last 4 seasons. So he plays a lot of football. He's experienced. He's smart. He's versatile. All the complaints and concerns about him are simply the fact that they think because he's a little smaller, maybe he could not do well. His film is great, but if you look at the NFL.com scouting report, they're like, well, there's a chance because he's a little undersized, maybe he won't do so well, or he's got to put on more weight. I don't like dealing in maybes, right? Show me what the tape says. Show me what this player is. And right now, if you look at the tape and look what he is as a prospect, he's a darn good football player. I think with the year in a strength and conditioning program, getting some NFL experience, learning from Karras, maybe putting on the extra pounds if needed, I think we're looking at a guy in Lee here who could become not just the next Bengals starting center when Karras leaves after this upcoming season, but a really good one with that as well.
Yeah, Nick. And I think that this guy is really interesting. It's like you said, started 48 games, only missed 2 games, 1 for injury and 1 because he opted out of the last bowl game with Miami. So he stays healthy despite people, saying he needs to put on some size, be a little bit bigger center to play in the NFL. This is a guy who went out there. When he moved over to the ACC, Miami was playing a lot of top competition, a lot of tough games out there. This is a team who came out and he put him up against some of the best pass rushers. The Florida State game, they had Verse. That was a guy who's really talented player. There's also Fisk on that defensive line. This was a really stout competition filled year for Miami. So for this guy to go out there and play and do his best and not have his size be a factor, I think it's like you said. Sometimes you just got to look at the football that they put onto the field. This is a guy who, if you go like the Athletic, if you like Dan Brugler, he does a really great breakdown of all draft prospects. He was the ninth best center out of 16 that were graded fully through Dan Brugler's process. There's more later down the line, but 16 that he graded, this guy was right in the middle of the pack. And they get him at near the end of the 7th round. I think this guy is going to be really, really interesting prospect for the Bengals. Like you said, puts on a little bit of size, gets a couple reps in. I think this is a guy that you usually take him, you wait until Karras probably going to want a lot of money, probably say, hey, we have another guy right underneath you who's looking promising. You let him go, and then you keep this Super Bowl ever-present window open that Joe Burrow has talked about. Have Lee fill in, and are you really glad that you were able to get a guy in the 7th round who's able to do some quality starting reps for you? So I think this was a great move by the Bengals, and it just shows this organization, we've talked about it numerous times, over the last 3 or so years has really changed their mindset on how they want to do things. They're thinking forward, whether it's facilities, whether it's how they're taking care of their players, or the kind of money they're spending on guys as well, because they know they have something special here and they don't want to mess it up. And the selection of a guy like Matt Lee, I think, is another rung in that ladder.